Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
This week, in their meeting with us, we were allowed to take a good look at ourselves. We were reminded that we are made in the image and the likeness of God. And if that is true, there's some things we have to change that we've been thinking all along. We were given a whole new set of lenses with which to see the Word of God when we read it with a desire to understand what that love letter is all about. We were allowed to put ourselves, not talk about somebody else, like the sermon wasn't for this one or that one, but it was for us. We have gained such growth this week. I have gained such growth this week. My eyes have been opened. And God also used the tailors to help me to see the things that have been happening in my life were His call on my life to be a better person, to be more caring, more loving, more compassionate. Have you written a letter to yourself yet? We did that this week. We wrote a love letter to ourselves. And we weren't afraid to call ourselves beautiful because we are made in the image and the likeness of God. Amen. I pray that everyone here had an opportunity at least one night to have joined with the tailors to begin that new journey. You ever been in a race and you're running and you see the end inside? We're at that place. The end is inside. But there's some things we need to correct. There's some erroneous information we've carried for a while, and so much so it has been inculcated in our spirits. But we saw this week it's okay to let go of that. And it is now time for us to see what God intends for us. What we need to chase after is love. Not houses, not cars, not clothes, not food. God said in Matthew 6:33, He'll provide all of that. So this week, our hearts have been opened to receive God as He desired to be received by us. And we want to say thank you to the tailors for this.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to Monday Night Live with KW.
We are so excited, as always, to have you guys with us. We're getting ready to go on another journey tonight, and this is a journey that we've never been on. And so I'm so curious and so energized to find out where we'll go tonight.
I'm really excited about it because remember, we weren't planning on having a program tonight, but I thought our guest tonight, well, we were going to have a repeat one we had already done, but I thought our guest tonight would be so able, based on her life experiences, to prepare us as we get ready for a brand new year. And not to forget, we have not completely ended this year yet.
Absolutely.
So welcome. We are excited to have you. Please go and grab somebody and tell them that this is going to be a life-changing experience. But while we're doing that, what is KW? What is it that we do here on Monday nights?
What do we do here on Monday nights? We are all about the journey. Our life experiences, our hopes, our fears, our challenges, our successes, the way we've gone all the way to the bottom, the way we've dug ourselves to the top. We're all about getting together and really just talking about our life experiences and where they've taken us. I think tonight, as you were talking just now, I was thinking to myself, what an interesting time to be talking about journeys. We're approaching the new year, and the new year is always a time where a lot of us talk about new journeys.
Resolutions.
Of course, we call them resolutions, right? So it's a time where we're starting to think about our lives, what we want to see happening in the future, and it's just such a great time to revamp, reset, kind of resettle. And I think it's so important to talk about this in this time period, because sometimes we get that wrong, right?
Yeah,
we set unrealistic expectations. This is going to be the year, right? But then, for some reason, not all of us are able to keep that momentum. And so talking about a marathon tonight and keeping a momentum sounds like a good way to go.
I think so too. We'd also like to invite you to visit our store at kwministries.net. And then also, we want to give away a gift tonight. I think tonight is the last night we're giving away our calendar, or maybe we'll give it away some in January also. Yeah. But we have a nice 2023 calendar for you. All you have to do is go to www.kwministries.net, claim my prize, and we will send you a calendar. And then we also want to give away a Christmas book, a nice little Christmas story. Anna Kay wrote a nice book reflecting on her journey through Christmas as a child, and the stories and the smells, and I think you'd really, really enjoy that. So we want to give that away to the winner tonight. And the way you win is you participate, talk to us, talk with our guests, ask questions, join in the conversation, and let's have lots of fun. Our guest tonight is Kimberly Hollie. Kimberly and I have been friends, oh Lord. We argue about this, how long it has been. I say 16, I think she says 14 years. But we've been friends for a very, very long time. She has always been a very spiritual person, very kind person, a very focused person. She's married. She has 3 wonderful children. She's an educator. She loves education, and she runs marathons. I told her the other day that, her bones are getting old. She wasn't listening to me though when I said that, because I think in about 2 weeks she was getting ready to run one. But it's one of the greatest person you'll ever meet. And we'll have our guest. Let's just bring her in right now. We'll take a quick break and then come back.
We'll take a quick break.
Let's take a quick break. Go get somebody, invite somebody. This discussion tonight is going to be amazing. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with Kimberly Hollie. Kimberly, it's so good to see you. So good to thank you so much for being with us on tonight. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you for having me.
And Happy New Year when it comes.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
What was your favorite gift for Christmas that you got?
Oh, wow. I was impressed most with my children. We didn't do a lot of shopping this year, but my children went and got gifts that not gifts, but household items that I bought and wrapped them. So under the tree was full of all these gifts. And I was opening them. I was like, "Oh, Bath and Body Works. This looks familiar." And they were so eager to give me something, even though they didn't have money and didn't go shopping. So that meant the most to me. They were making sure the tree was full of things that I could get for Christmas. So,
but didn't that give you
gifting or whatever?
But didn't that give you an insight into them, into their thinking? Into that must have been, yeah.
Yeah, that was really sweet. I was like, wow, so you guys do think about other people.
I like that. I like that. What was your favorite Christmas gift?
You know, my favorite Christmas gift wasn't a gift itself. It was just to be able to be home with family. Mm-hmm. It was the gift of an extended time period from work. Don't tell my employers, but that was the biggest gift to me, because I don't take that for granted. That's something that's important to me.
I think mine was the same, as was just being able to hang around with family. But Kim, I wanted for us to have. Oh, and by the way, if you want to share what your favorite gift was, please put it in the comments. You have to comment in order to win your prize. All right. I wanted to talk with you. You know, our whole program is about. Last time we had you on, we were talking about a journey through friendship, and I had you and Carl on. So our whole discussions are about our different life journeys. And as we're ending the year, I just felt inspired to ask you to come have this conversation with us about your marathon journeys. And let's start with asking you to, tell us what a marathon is. How did you even start? How did the idea come for you to start doing it? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, before I go on, I just want to say I have not known you for 14 or 16 years. I've known you for 26 or 27 years. Just want to
Hold on. Let's be clear. That means that we've been having a 14 and 16 years conversation for a long time.
I've known you since I was 14 years old, but that was a long time.
Right. It's 14. Okay, I'm getting old. Okay.
Okay, but since I mentioned the number 26, that is what a marathon is, 26.2 miles. And I've only done that actually one time. But what started this journey for me is I've always enjoyed fitness and health and wellness since I was really young. And my dad was into it as well. My parents, they would, regularly, do exercise, go to the gym, and they were part of different health ministries and things like that. And they would do like aerobics classes. I see people doing all sorts of things. Growing up, I was not very coordinated. My sister even went to the extent of, my sister was trying to get in shape, and she was doing an aerobics video with YouTube, and she recorded herself to, check her movements. She'll, come and do it with me. And she laughed so hard because I'm not coordinated. So she ended up putting it on YouTube. It was like, I'm surprised it didn't go viral, but I'm not coordinated. So I was like, well, what can I do to stay active that doesn't require a lot of coordination or skill? And so I've always been able, I guess I would run with my dad from time to time when I was a teenager. And we, 2 miles, 3 tops. And I was just happy to do 1 mile. And so when I married and moved away, I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio. My pastor was a runner, or is a runner. And he was telling me that he's done all these races and stuff. I said, well, I want to run too. And he had a group of people that he was running with every Sunday. And he kind of just walked me through the process of starting with a pace I was comfortable with, starting with a distance I was comfortable with, and just building on that. And before I knew it, I was, signing up for my first half marathon. I've been doing a half marathon. I try to do like 2 a year, but things happen. And so I've done, all I know is I've done like 13 races since 2008. And one time it's mostly half marathons. I've done 1 full marathon. I'm not exactly interested in doing that again, but I've even done a triathlon. I'll try anything once. So I've done a triathlon. I even won a 5K, and I've done a few 10Ks too. But it's like a cult. It becomes part of a culture. And it is the one activity that, I find not, I don't have to be coordinated. I have the ability to do. So I've been able to be consistent. My personality, I'm the type of person who enjoys doing it with people. So my strongest periods of running, and where I was going really well. You know, I could feel that my lungs were getting, stronger, and my, my endurance was improving and so forth. My stamina was improving. Was during the times I would run with a group of people. But when I'm on my own, I can work my way through it. But it is a little harder because I am more of a group activity type exercise person. So yeah, that's how my journey started.
Well, if I know you as well as I think I do, your mind is rolling around with stamina. With once I was with people, your mind is. But before we get there, because I know I heard all of those different things breaking out of your mind. Before we get there, let's talk about the preparation process. And what we want to do is, use your journey in running as an analogy for life, and as we prepare to start a new year. Talk to us some about your preparation process as you prepare for a race.
Okay, so I have an aunt that she actually came to visit me not too long ago, and she said, I want to jumpstart my health. There's a marathon that I do almost every year. It's in May. It's the Cincinnati Flying Pig Half Marathon. And she was like, I want to do that with you. And so I've committed to doing that race. So how I usually start is I have like a calendar, and I'll have, it tells you when to start, your training, if you're a beginner or intermediate runner or advanced runner. And it's typically 4 days a week, just running. It starts off like with 3 miles on a Sunday. Sundays are usually the longest mileage, but 3 days on a Sunday. And then during the week, because people are usually busy, that's the smallest mileage. So it'll be like on the first week, it'll be, 2 miles, 2 miles on a Tuesday, 2 miles on a Thursday, 2 miles on a Friday. And it just builds from there. So it starts off very low at a pace you can not at a pace, but at a distance that most people probably have done in their life, 3 miles. And it also on the schedule that I've received, the program that I'm with, it encourages you to walk or run it until you feel comfortable building up the distance and the speed for it. So I started out. A few marathons I just walked it, but it's interesting. What I've learned is even if you are walking the distance, if you're consistent with the distance, when it comes time to run, it's still like, I've done this before. I can do it because I have covered that distance before. So no matter what the pace is, actually being consistent with your training is important. If for no other reason, mind over matter, to get the psychology, like, yes, I've done this before.
So I've been taking notes. So let's start with the idea of I've done this before, Kamala. Mm-hmm. Let's go to life as we begin this year. The distance, I've done this before. What importance or what analogy could we use that as it relates to life and as we prepare for this new year?
Well, one of the first thoughts that came to mind for me is, as you talked about, I've done this before, is how important it is to give ourselves that reminder as we're facing things in life. Mm-hmm. We, regardless of what your age is, we've been through experiences in life that prepare us for future experiences. Mm-hmm. And many times we get caught up in the idea that something is too difficult, it's too hard, I can't do it, because we have this idea that I've never encountered this before. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily true. We may have experiences that look different, Kim, to nod to what you said. I've walked this before. I may not have run it, but I've walked this before. So I know I can cover this distance. And I think that's so important as kind of that self-taught that we do, whether that marathon is a job, a relationship, family relationships, you name it, regardless of what it is, it's that reminder, I have done 100. Let me see how I want to say this. I have survived 100% of the days that I've already walked. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. I can run this. Mm-hmm.
And somebody said, I have nothing to fear for the future unless I forget how God has led me in the past. Mm-hmm. In your own life journey, Kim, in your own experience, how has that lesson translated into your daily life? This whole idea of I've walked this distance before, I've run this distance before, I've been here before. How has that helped you in your day to day?
Wow. In running, I don't, I've heard when I was training for my marathon, the 26 miles that I'll never do again, but it's just long. I mean, it's hard, but it's long. I remember people talk about like the brick wall. You know, you're going to get to a place where you just, you know, you physically don't feel like you can go any further. You emotionally, mentally, it's just going to challenge you. You're going to get hit a brick wall, and like I'm just going to stop and walk off the track. So I do have like emotional memories while I'm running, because you know, while you're running, even though you may have trained with people, you have to run the race for yourself. So you can train with people, but you have to, you know, you're not really talking. I mean, sometimes you might have a partner to chat with, but you're not. I mean, if you're actually running for speed, you know, you're running, you have to kind of keep yourself motivated for yourself. The way that's kind of one of the lessons I've learned, I guess, in life is, like we were just talking before, I've done this before. So if you trained, you know, I have everything I need to complete the race. I have everything I need. I might need to slow down a spell, but I'm going to finish. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep moving forward. I might need to take a moment to stretch, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I might need, and that translates into so many other parts of life. I think my biggest thing that I've learned, even in this past year, I just had a milestone birthday last year, not this past year. I mean, not this month, but last year. And I was doing all these things to try to improve my health. And the biggest lesson that I learned is consistency and slow, basically the slow and steady wins the race. And I know that we've heard that many, many times, but it became so true and so real to me, because I'm the type of person like, oh, I need to lose 100 pounds. So what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm not going to eat any food for the next 100 days. And obviously that's not sustainable. And I had to learn that little habits, little things, being consistent in small things make the greatest and biggest changes. So doing that 2 miles, walking it, running it, doing intervals, when I'm training for a race, that's made the biggest changes. When I'm out there actually doing the race, that it shows in my breathing and everything that I've done this before. Also in life, to answer your question, same thing. When I'm in school now, when there have been classes that were hard that I was like, man, this is tough. But when I'm coming on any obstacle, whether it's with parenting, relationships, just any obstacle, anything spiritual, even, it's always a good reminder to know that, it's always a good reminder to know that, these are things I have been equipped. It may not look the same way, but I have trained for this.
Yeah. Something back to this whole idea of I've done this before. You overheard me and my cousin talking the other day. No, but I don't think you were privy to this conversation. We were talking about suicide. And we were talking about the idea that if people could just get through their mind that they had been here before, and that they had made it through before, and not necessarily the suicidal thought, but obstacles or challenges. I've had challenges before, and I've made it through. And my cousin was sharing with me that anytime she has a challenge, that's what she does. She says, I've been even if it's not the very same challenge, even if it's not the very same thing, I've had challenges before and I've made it through. So I just need to hold on to make it through this. And I think that could be a helpful thing also, because I know, with what has happened with Twitch and others, this whole discussion of suicide is coming back again. And the challenging thing with that, Kimberly, and we're going to do something on it too, but the challenging thing with that is because of how young he was. It causes me to wonder if that's not going to become a trend now, because of how young and how popular he was. But this whole idea of I've done this before, I've been challenged before, I've been there, I've seen this before. If I just keep going, I can make it through.
There was something in what you said, Kimberly, that I feel like we can really bring into that discussion as well. You talked about how, as you're running the race, even with all the preparation, you know, you still sometimes hit that brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of that your mind telling you, I can't make it, I can't go any further. That's how I heard it. You can, if you hear it a different way in your races, tell me. But hitting that brick wall and being able to still continue the race beyond that. Talk a little bit about brick walls that you've encountered as you've gone through half marathons, races, the marathon, and how did you get beyond that?
Yeah.
Because I think that thought process is really important to our conversation.
The brick wall that people typically talk about it's usually the marathoners who are doing the 26.2. So I don't know if I've experienced in the same way, but I have the marathon that I typically do, which is in Cincinnati, has a lot of hills, a lot of hills. And I've done it many, many times, but the hills don't get any easier, and it doesn't. They're still there. I mean, they're still there, and I have to have some kind of I'm sure there's a better word for it, but I have to mentally like psych myself out to get through every hill. And I know the hills by heart now. You know, there's this one hill like mile 7. It goes really, really steep, and there's another hill right after it, as if while I'm recovering from that hill, there's another one right after it, and. It's really I challenge myself, don't walk, whatever you do, don't walk, keep on going, because what can happen if you do slow down, you were joking me about my bones, but the truth is, so lately I'm not getting any older, but anyway, lately my knee does give me some trouble sometimes if I slow down. Strangely enough, if I slow down to like stop, when I pick back up, I can feel it. And so my thing is, nope, I'm not going to slow down on this hill. I'm not going to stop on this hill. I'm going to keep on. I'm going to, push through it and then recover on the downhill. So basically, I guess to get through, I haven't necessarily in the same way had a brick wall like some marathoners have talked about. But doing my half marathon training or doing my half marathon races, I have been in places like, oh, man, this is just, ooh. Man, another hill. I don't even remember this hill. Where did it come from? Like, did they change the track? And I just have to psych myself out. Like, let's see if you can go. I mean, it's always something new. Let's see if you can go up the hill fast. Let's see if you can, go up with the hill. Let's see if you can sing this song in your head until you get to the top. Let's see if you can count and let's focus on your breathing. Let's it has to be some kind of activity that I'm psyching myself out with while I'm hitting that part where it's like, the hills are pretty steep. I feel like I'm in San Francisco and it's just Cincinnati, but that's probably, kind of close to a brick wall, seeing the hills and knowing that, I train, but I didn't train on this hill. I have trained and I did train on some hill. So, yeah.
Kimberly, come on, Kimberly. I knew this was going to be a good discussion. I knew it. It seems 8:29:25. Right? I knew it was going to be a good discussion. Coping skills. That's what you just talked about. Is that sometimes in life we're going to have hills. I wrote it down, and maybe this was just for me. Sometimes in life we're going to have hills, and getting up those hills, even if we knew exactly where they were, even if we were faced with that same challenge before, when it comes around again, and I don't know what your challenge is, I don't know what issues you're facing in life, but those hills can be so daunting. But what Kimberly talked about, how she gets through them, is through coping skills. How important is it for all of us to have our own happy places, our own coping strategies? And could you talk to us a little bit about developing coping strategies as we go through life?
So I'm going to use what Kim said, because Kim said a lot in those sentences about what she does to get over those hills, which I think really translates into how we deal with life. The first important thing, Kim, that you said was, don't stop moving. Don't stop moving. And that's hard to do when you've met that hill of challenge, the one that you're like, wait a minute, San Francisco? What am I doing here? And it's being able to recognize that, yes, I'm at this hill, I'm at this challenge, I'm at this place where it feels like, and Kim, I'm sure you can attest to this, it feels like the best idea is to stop. That's what it feels like.
Mm.
But what is actually best for your body and best for your life is to keep going, keep the pace. And as you keep going, there might be some things that you have to do to motivate yourself to continue, or to even distract yourself from the challenge itself.
Now, let me interrupt you for a second, because I want for you to pick back up there right after I ask this question, though, Kim, and come on, because there are people here who, well, no, we're talking about a journey through life.
Yeah.
And we're saying you can't stop going through life. We're saying you can't quit. We saw you like the thing. We appreciate you liking. We want for you to comment so you can get a gift later. The idea that you don't stop going through life. But Kim, let me ask you this, because I think this is important for some people who are overwhelmed by a situation, who are super challenged by a particular hill. How do I not quit? How do I don't stop moving, but I know when, you know when to hold them, know when to fold them. How do I know when to slow down when it's best, even though my knee is going to hurt when I start? Here it is. Even though my knee is going to hurt when I start again, how do I know when it's the best decision is to slow down? Anyway. Okay.
No, my motto in life is to keep moving forward. There was a movie I saw years and years ago. It's old now. It was a Disney movie I was watching with some children. I was like babysitting children or something. I saw Meet the Robinsons, and that whole thing. I mean, when it was over, I was crying because it was just talking about this guy who kept on failing at stuff, and he was inventing this and failing and failing and failing. But his thing was keep moving forward. He ended up, they went into the future, and he was this rich, trillionaire or something, because he kept moving forward and didn't give up. And some of his inventions actually changed the world. So that, I don't know why that movie spoke with me so much. That's like my motto now, keep moving forward. And so, if anyone else is like me, I've had bouts of depression and stuff from time to time for different, because of anything, because of a situation or whatever. And, it does. The easiest thing for me to do is just to be like, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to put life on pause or whatever, put life on hold. But what I've learned is slow and steady wins the race. And because slow and steady wins the race, let me just get through this one day. Let me get through this one day. We'll worry about tomorrow. But let me just get through the one day. And if I can get through the one day, we can talk, I can figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow. So let me get up this one hill, and I'll figure out I'm going to get to the next one after I get off of this one. So that's kind of how I keep moving forward. But that's like my life mantra, keep moving forward. Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Keep that pace. All right, come on. You were telling us about the coping skills, about going over that hill and going over those hills in life and how to develop those coping skills.
Yeah. So, slow and steady. I love that. So we also talked about, as we're keeping slow and steady, as we're keeping space, as we're not stopping moving, what are some other things that I can employ to help me get through the challenge, right? So Kim talks about, maybe I'm singing a song in my head. So for some people, gosh, music is a great coping skill that gets our minds refocused. We can utilize it to change our moods, in a lot of ways. Here's my favorite analogy when it comes to music, right? So sometimes when we're going through hard times and we're feeling down, sometimes we get caught in the trap of, I'm going to listen to music that matches how I feel. My favorite analogy of this, and you guys stay with me on this one, I'm 90s, so I'm going to go way back. So not a nod to Tony Braxton, but do you remember Tony Braxton? Like all of the songs were Unbreak My Heart. It was devastating all day, every day, right? If I'm down, if I'm in a breakup, and it's really devastating to me, that's your go-to. That's not your go-to in terms of a coping skill, in terms of music. How you use music as a coping skill is to use something that's the opposite of your mood.
Of what you
So if you're feeling down, you listen to something exciting. The point is to change your mood. So that's one thing. Kim talked about that. She's singing a song as I'm going over this hill of my experience. You know, maybe it's self-talk. What are the affirmations that I have for myself? You know what? I can do this. Me, you're not going to get me down today. I've got this. I've done this before. How do I talk myself through? What are the messages that I tell myself continually? Telling myself as I'm going up this mountain, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it, doesn't lend itself to us getting through challenges. What it lends itself to is the idea that if I'm never going to make it, then why should I bother to keep going? I should just stick with the idea of what feels comfortable, which is to stop. But how we grow, how we continue through life is by, right? That's how we keep going. Kimberly said it perfectly, I think. I know that if I slow down to a certain pace, I'm going to have more pain. And so how do I know to do that differently? It's going back to what we started from in the beginning, which is I've done this before, right? So that's how we know. All right, I know that the way that I've made it through this before is X, Y, Z. I've been here. This is how this is the self-talk I use. These were the ways I distracted myself, or used another medium to get me the same. It's about kind of remembering where we've been and then employing some of those things.
I want to say something else too. It's not about marathons, but it came to my mind since we're talking about a journey to healing. So after I had, so I have 3 children, and I think it was last year, I finally decided to see a physical therapist. Just, believe it or not, I don't think they stress it here in the States, but believe it or not, physical therapy should be part of postpartum health and so forth. So I saw a physical therapist, and the first thing I said to her, she was like, "So what are your goals?" I said, "Oh, I want the 6-pack, and I want to, be all chiseled by the end, in a couple of months and whatever." She was like, "Okay, let's start with breathing." And I'm like, I was about to walk out and never come back. I'm like, breathing? Like, I know I've been breathing since I was born. It's surprising. I mean, first of all, I got professional help because my children my oldest is 10 and my youngest is 4. And I didn't know what I was doing up until that point. So everything I was trying was probably making it worse. There are exercises you can do to make your postpartum health worse. I got professional help, and she was right. Starting with things like breathing, how you move your abdomen while you're breathing, all those things. It sounded so silly, just like with Naaman when they're saying, "Oh, just go and dip in the water, whatever." He's like, "That's so silly," and what she was saying sounded silly too. Just let's start with breathing. Like, do you feel your pelvic floor? Do you feel how your abs come together? And I'm like, I breathe all the time, but it made a lot of difference. Again, little things, consistent little things do make big differences and big changes along the way. So she had these exercises she had me do that seemed like I was doing nothing but living life. Oh, get on the floor and put your hand on your belly, take a deep breath. And I'm like, what are we doing? But I'm glad I got the professional help. And it wasn't some big, routine that she put me on, but I did have to be consistent in doing these little things 5 to 10 minutes a day. And it did make a difference. But that came to mind too.
Kimberly, you keep going over this word, keeps coming up, and I was going to talk about with people, but let me go to this word since it came up again here. Consistent.
Yes.
What does it mean? And let's take Brother Glenn's comment real quick. He says music is very relaxing. When I was studying, I keep music nearby,
just low enough so I can hear it. It helps my mind to relax, and I do my study without a problem.
Awesome. Kimberly, this word consistent, what does consistent mean? And talk to us some more about the importance of consistency, because I've heard that word about 5 or 6 times now since we've started.
Consistency is important. I learned a quote, and I don't know who said it, but I learned it at a young age. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character, and watch your character becomes destiny. So keeping a consistent, the things that are important to you, being consistent with those things will help things come more second nature to you. I have done many races where I was not consistent with my training. And my time tells on me, and my, the way I feel for the next week. People are like, why are you walking into work like that? I'm walking into work like the Tin Man, because all my joints are sore and stiff and whatever. And so, I pay for it later, but I am consistent. I keep with the training schedule. I'm eating, I'm coupling that with food and water and so forth. That makes all the difference in the world, makes the race much easier. But when I don't, obviously the race is a lot harder. There have been races that I've done where I've done little to no training. And I was like, why? What are you doing? The whole race, I'm like, what are you doing? You have done a marathon before, but you are not ready. What are you doing? And the times where I have prepared and I was consistent, it's like, wow, let's do another one. And so consistency is important. Also, I can't stress enough consistency, but it doesn't have to be one thing. It's just a new phenomenon to me. It doesn't have to be these huge changes. Just consistency in the little things. Another thing. I also try to employ. You guys ever heard of Noom? Noom, it's like this app about how to using psychology to have a healthier lifestyle. Okay, so I used Noom, and they also are just talking about little changes. Be mindful when you're eating. To ask your belly if you're full and all this kind of stuff. And as silly as it sounds, it does make a difference when you're paying attention to what's actually happening in your life and not letting things happen to you, but actually paying attention to things that are happening around you. It does makes a big difference. So yeah, being consistent, and that consistency doesn't have to be in drastic changes because it won't be sustainable. But being consistent in the little things is what's going to take you over.
Kim, I love that you said that. I've been thinking it as you were talking about consistency, and then you said it. It was be realistic. It's not the big leaps and bounds that make the difference. It's the small steps that we take along the way. And I think that that's a big part of why sometimes we make goals in life, or we make goals for fitness, or we make these goals and we're not able to meet them and we beat ourselves up for it. But it might be because we've started off giving ourselves some really unrealistic steps in place. I'm going to do this in 2 weeks. Are you though? It's important to talk about that. Yeah, love that.
Thank you. Let's move to this idea as we talk about preparation still with people. You said that you like training with people. You like taking on this journey with people. What's the value in taking your journey with people? Talk to us some more about that.
Now, this might just be a personality preference, because I do know people who get all their fitness goals and all by themselves. But for me, that's typically not me. I remember the first time my pastor, I went to jog with him, and there was a small group of us, and he was like, we're doing 5 miles today. And I laughed at him, and I was like, I'm not doing 5. I've never done 5 miles. I'm not about to do it today either. And if he had not been by my side, talking to me, just giving me advice and, helping me keep pace and all that kind of stuff, I would have totally going around this pond. It was 2.5 miles. He said we're going to do 5. So that means we had to go around 2 times. And I would have walked off after the first one if no one was with me. No, where's Kimberly? And I would have been gone, because I already knew that I could not do 5 miles. I had never done 5 miles in my life. But that day I did. He stayed right there beside me, talking to me about, how's this going? How's that going? And I'm like, how are you talking? So of course I'm out of breath. It was my first time running 5 miles. So yeah, I'm fine. Yes, everything's great. But then I came back the next week and we talked again. I did 5 miles again. Before I was doing 6. And then just having a group there with me. My first half marathon, he stayed with me the entire time. When I slowed down, he slowed down with me. He talked me through the whole thing. My second race, he was not with me. He was going for speed, and I was not. So he finished so far ahead of me. And that was different. I had to find ways within myself to kind of keep moving. But when I'm with the group, when I have someone by my side the entire time, it just kind of, I don't know, the camaraderie, or something about, for me, being an extrovert and whatever other personality things I have, I do feed off of people's energy, and so I really enjoy and appreciate. It motivates me to to stay consistent, knowing that other people are there waiting for me. Other people are there, looking forward to being with me, or just that other people are there. And I know I don't have to do it by myself, because there have been many times where I've had plans to do something and I've talked myself out of it. And then having other people there saying, no, we're going to do this together. Like, okay, I'm there. But like I said, that's my personality. Yeah.
I think in almost all of our journey discussions, Kamala, the same theme has run around. Have a tribe. Have people that you can connect with. Have people that you can grow with. Have people that you can journey with. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It just needs to be dependable people.
Another thing that I think that here coming out is the idea that we have to be honest with ourselves and know ourselves. So I heard Kim when she said, for me, this is what works. This might be different for somebody else.
Right.
Which is not to take away from the idea of having a tribe. I definitely think that is something that we need to emphasize. In a lot of ways, we've told ourselves that we're supposed to accomplish everything. Independence, right? We're supposed to.
But that's not true.
No, I don't think it's true. But at this, not but at the same time, and at the same time, having that self-awareness, what actually works for me versus what doesn't.
Yes.
Sometimes, if I'm not honest with myself, I won't put the things in place that I need to that would actually help me to get to my goal.
And so people become a distraction.
So sometimes people can become a distraction, or I don't surround myself with people because I don't want that accountability.
Very true.
That was good. Brother Glenn again says, if you're consistent,
Not consistent.
if you're not consistent in your training, if you're a runner, you can hurt yourself when you try to run. Consistency in training is very crucial. All right, take us to the race itself now. So we're preparing. We have to be consistent in the small things. There's one more thing I wanted to say that you talked about was that the pastor was beside you the whole time, talking through the race. The first time when you went out to do the 5 miles. And what I wanted to pull from that was sometimes we should lean on people that have been where we're trying to go. I think that's, okay. But with example for that, he already not only can do 5 miles, but apparently he has already been doing, multiple races.
Yeah.
And you lean on his strength and him talking with you because he'd already been there. Then even though you struggled, you made it. And I think sometimes in life, if we could just talk with somebody, if I have a habit of let's say for my and I need to say this real quick. I don't believe in resolutions. Okay, so let me quickly say that I don't believe in New Year resolutions, but people do, and it does work for some people. I don't believe in resolutions only because I think from a biblical perspective, you can get a fresh start at any time. Today, if you hear my voice, right? Okay, but let's say your New Year's resolution is I want to quit smoking. Well, maybe if I, lean on someone who has overcome smoking, then that can help me on my journey to quit smoking. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Also, my pastor, in that role, he kind of served not just someone to do it with, which would have been great, but he also served at that time as a coach. He was kind of, breathe like this. All right, take a deep breath. When we go up the hill, you want to make sure your posture's this way. When you da-da-da-da-da. All right, let's slow down a bit because you're not breathing, you're breathing too hard. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break and stretch. So, so the whole during when I first got started, he kind of served more as a coach. So it was good to have him there for that. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Kim. When you first got back into it and you had that experience of having your pastor who was also your coach, how were you able to open yourself up to feedback, sometimes criticism, as you were getting better? How did you do that?
Well, I mean, he's a great coach. And then, I think with running with exercising, at least for me, it kind of, I've made some of the best friends through exercising. And so, he and I are also friends. Our families, we're very close. And so, I mean, any criticism or whatever he had it was so gentle. It was, it wasn't really didn't sound like he was coming down on me, whatever. Try this, try that, try whatever. It just sounded like everything he was suggesting was really helpful. So yeah.
What I like about your answer, because I was thinking about this, we talked about the importance of having a tribe, relationships. But I think it's important, for anybody who's going through challenges, whether you're building yourself up to a marathon or something in life, and you're thinking about who you want to have in your corner, it's important. What's the relationship I have with the people in my corner? Because it's very different. Feedback can be very different depending on who it's coming from and the kind of relationship.
That's very true. Very true.
So I think that's definitely something that we want to emphasize as we're talking to people out there who, who will hear this and say, well, I don't know if I want certain people telling me certain things.
Right.
And I think that's okay. I think we need to acknowledge that is absolutely fine, that you get to determine who is actually in your circle and if they want the same things for you.
That's powerful.
That's
powerful. And I think Kimberly said earlier, we don't have to live life as life happening to us.
Yeah.
But observing what's happening around us. I think that was good. All right, you're there. It's game day. It's running time. Talk to us about running the actual race.
It's nerve-wracking. But what I enjoy just about what actually happens in a race, when I get there, lots of people, thousands of people typically come for the typical, like for the Cincinnati race, for the Columbus race too, for many races, many half marathon is usually supported by a lot of people. The news crews are there. They have loud music, and it's, there are people on the sidelines throughout who are just, they're cheering for you and that kind of thing. So it's really exciting. It can be very, because my personality feeds off of people, I am just on 100 when I get there. I'm just jumping around, and it's usually very cold, very cold. This is May. The Cincinnati race is usually in May in Cincinnati, and it can be cold, and because it starts at like 6 a.m. or something. It can be very cold standing out in May in Cincinnati, May 1st or the beginning of May. But having been with so many people who are going toward the same goal is exhilarating. It's very pumping, and they have the music going, and it's just like, wow, I'm just jumping. I have all the energy in the world in the beginning of the race. As the race goes on, and the people who've trained, they're keeping their pace and everything, things start to thin out. And so things start to thin out. You find yourself sometimes your friends are ahead of you or behind you or whatever. People get dispersed, and people all over the place. So it gets a little bit lonely along the way. The loneliest race was a 26.2 when I did my one and only marathon. There is a point in the marathon where the people who are only doing the half go one way, and the marathoners are going the other way. And it seemed like the people who are doing the half are going with the music, and the people who are doing the full, there's nobody there. It's just just a few people running, and you have to really kind of, all the strategies we talked about. You really have to keep those going for another 13 miles because the crowds are thinner, the participants are less, and it's fewer people participating in the full, and it's harder. So your training, you have to rely on your training. You have to rely on, you've done this before. It gets harder. But by the time you get to the finish line, everybody who finishes gets a medal. So it's some people are crying, some people are crawling, some people are, but everyone who finishes the race gets a medal, no matter what place you were in. The person I did the full marathon, she had not trained. And so when we were going across, she just said, I just don't want, her goal was to not let the track close on her. So I think we might've been the last one in the race. They keep the race open for, I think, 7.5 hours. And she walked and cried and crawled and everything. But her thing is, as long as it doesn't close on her, that was good enough for her. And she went across the finish line, and she's just boo crying, but exhilaration of knowing I did it. And then they give you a thing and they take your picture and everything. You're like a celebrity once you cross, no matter what your time was. You're like a celebrity when you cross. But in the beginning of the race, everything's hype. And by the time like mile 3, things start thinning out. They do have these little stations every once in a while. There's some music to kind of get you back hype. There's some water. There's some of this, but it gets thinner as time goes on. You don't see as many people cheering you on. But when you're finished, there's the crowd, there's the medal, I'm always like over the finish line. I always have my hands on my pictures because I'm like, whew, I don't know why I just did that, but I did it.
Yeah. I think you just said this is so much.
There are 3 things that stand out for me.
Right,
I'm not sure which ones stand out
first.
But the 3 things that stand out for me are we are all running a race.
Yeah.
Every single one of us, we're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are times when we will feel alone, and that is okay too. That's part of the journey. But at the end of the day, everybody has value. Those are the 3 things I heard. Big time.
Oh man, it's 9:53. We're not gonna get to all 3 of them. Let's just stick with your 3, okay? We're all running a race. How important is that in life for us to recognize that we're not alone on this journey? We're not. You're not by yourself. You're not. And Kimberly said it. It's gonna thin out. It's gonna feel different. People are going to go in different directions, and you're not. The news crew is there. The different spectators are there. Whichever way it goes, but you're not by yourself.
That by itself, I feel like, is such a crucial thing for us as we're going through life's races.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we feel like we are the only persons to experience this thing at this moment. And it's just not true. We all are experiencing this. We may be at different places in the road.
Yes, he said. Some of
us are way ahead.
As he said, your friends.
Yep.
Your friends are sometimes.
I'm looking ahead, and my friends are killing it. You know, they're in it for the speed, right? And some people are way behind. Some people are going to do the half track. But we are all in this together.
And how important it is, Kim. Let me ask you, Kim. How important is it to not judge your race based on somebody else's?
It is so important. Do you know how many people I've seen take off and just look like they were killing it? And they were like last place or whatever, because, but I mean, they finished. The thing is they finished because we are all, like you said, we're all on a spiritual journey, and everyone has their difficulties, whether they, they got a Charlie horse or whatever happened along the way. But I mean, everyone gets a medal when they're done. Everyone gets a medal. I just want to say this really quickly. One of the most encouraging races I've done. Yes, in the beginning, I had my pastor running along with me. There have been times I've run with groups of people. But I remember one time after all the crowds thinned out and everything, when I felt like I was by myself, I can't remember what race it was, but I was doing it by myself. I think I even started late. I think the race had started. I had to come and try to find where the start line was. I started a little bit late. There was a guy at my church. He's actually now my children's godfather, but he somehow, just when the crowd started to thin out, he was at every mile marker, and he was there. He's like, hey, Kim, I don't know why I don't remember inviting him, but he was just there. Every mile marker, like to the end of the race, he was offering me drink and water. I don't know how he did it, because that's if you think about it, to be every mile marker while someone's running a race, that in and of itself is kind of hard, because you're kind of having to run too. But he had a cooler, and every mile marker, he was there. Hey, Kimberly, I got some water. You want some water? I have some fruit. And I said, why are you here? He said, because you were running. And to have that like guardian angel, that's who he was to me that day. To have that guardian angel there, kind of like, we got this. I know you feel by yourself, but here's some water, here's some drink, here's some fruit. Keep on going, and I'll be at the next mile marker, and I'll be at the finish line too. That was everything to me. I will never forget that as long as I live.
Yeah. It's funny.
Let me just, Christine said it's very important for us to know that, because many persons think they're alone. That's right. And then Dad said it's very rewarding when we get to the end of the race.
Yeah. You know, Kim was talking about how, you know, her friend was there at every mile marker. And I couldn't help but think of, was it Elijah? After he had the big victory up on the mountain and then he got depressed. And you know, God sent angels with what? Some to drink, some to eat. Go to sleep, Elijah. Sometimes we just need people
To just push us along.
to just give us water, encouragement, and to know that they're there.
Before we go, I want to say that this was just, I think this is a very important conversation to have. True, I can't tell Kamala to be there for me. Kimberly can't tell her pastor or her friend to be there for her. But there is something you and I have control over. We can make sure that we're there for somebody else at every mile marker they are. So I'm asking us as we listen, and yes, this is about our journey, and that's why we're doing it, is how do we get healing on our journey? But we're also a part of somebody else's healing journey. So let's be there for somebody else. Kimberly, thank you so much for spending the time with us. We're so grateful. I called you, what was it, 5 o'clock Thursday morning? And thank you. You probably said yes and didn't realize you were saying yes after you woke up. You're like, oh, what was that about? Thank you so much. It was so worth the conversation. I really hope that somebody who's listening or somebody who will come back and listen later would have gotten some lessons from a marathon runner. I know I got some, and I'm really grateful.
I think the last thought that I have on it is, you know, keep running the race. You have value.
Yes, we didn't get, like I said, everybody has value. It doesn't matter where you come, when you come in, you have value. Thank you all so very much. Christine and Brother Glenn, head over to, and all of you who are watching, not just those who commented, all of you who are watching, head over to KW Ministries /Claim Your Prize, and we want to give you a 2023 digital calendar. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. But let's see, between Christine and Brother Glenn, who gets the
book today?
Who gets the digital book tonight? Let's have our drum roll, Anne. All right.
Here it comes.
All right.
Gilbert Glenn, you've got a book coming your way.
Digital book, and so come on, we'll set that up for you. Kimberly, would you have a last say, please?
Oh, okay. Yes. So what I like to leave everyone with is, you know, slow and steady, you know, big changes, small, consistent changes make big results over time. And keep moving forward.
Are you doing any running this year?
Yes, I have a race in May with my aunt.
All the very, 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 very best, and we'll be cheering you on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.